It's going to be an interesting one because people expect us to say that you should hire an agency.
I guess it's lower risk if you have an in-house team that's proven. There's more stability than like an external agency that you're relying on.
If these people are good, they don't have typically they don't have the experience of working with 60 to 70 accounts.
Welcome to episode 4. In this episode, we're going to be talking about why you should not hire an agency.
It's going to be an interesting one because people expect us to say that you should hire an agency because we are agency owners. But just to give you some context, we own marketing e-commerce agencies, right? And there's always a big misconception, I would call it, into should I hire an agency, should I not? Right, not even misconception, like the idea, the topic, right? Should I hire an agency? Should I not? If so, when should I do that? What type of agencies should I look for? Maybe I should not hire an agency and just build the entire team in-house, right? So let me ask you a question to start it off. When do you think generally, like just to be extremely honest and upfront with people, that people, like why do you think people should not hire an agency? What is the position that they have to be in where you think it would be like kind of like not the right fit to work with a company like maybe ours?
I think if you're in one scenario, if you're just starting out, and there's a few reasons to this, is because there's a cost associated with bringing on an agency and you may not see immediate ROI. It's unlikely that you'll see ROI. It's going to take a few months. And then I think as a founder of an ecom brand, like you really want to understand like how ads work. And when it does come to hiring an agency, you would have already done it and you'll be able to make a better decision when hiring an agency, if that's something you want to do in the future, because all the metrics, the lingo, what works for your brand. So if an agency comes in and tells you one thing, then you can be like, well, we did this, and that's not true. So, I would say that to begin with, like maybe those two scenarios.
And do you think it's easier for you to deliver results or work with people when they have that knowledge, or that maybe doesn't have to be 100% e-commerce background, but they have that little experience, let's call it?
I don't know if I'd say it's easier, because we work with brands where the founder never ran the ads and we still have a great, working relationship and things go really well. I think it's more of like when we work with brands, like we worked with brands that started from zero, and obviously that like from zero to even like 10K, 20K, 30K a month is the hardest thing, right? Because you're starting from nothing, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to gain some traction, and that requires like money, time. There's like an unknown to that, right? So there's risk on the founder side, there's risk on the agency side. And I think just the expectation needs to be clear that, look, this is going to take a few months before we start seeing something. The brands that are already at like 50, 60, 100K a month, those brands, there's already a foundation there that we can come in and just like, we're putting gas on a fire that's already lit, right? They already have something going.
They just maybe don't know how to scale it.
Yeah, exactly. And scaling isn't easy. Scaling is hard, right?
You can't just turn on
So
budget.
A lot of brands say, well, like you're just going for like the easy brands. Well, that's not true.
It's a completely different stage. It's actually a really hard stage.
Yeah.
Because you need to build pieces of infrastructures and systems to actually support the scale in the first place. And there could also be scenarios where the business just breaks from the client side because they don't have the fulfillment, the support, basically, and everything they need to support the scale in the first place.
Yeah. I think as well, like, early stages as a founder, like you want to keep your risk low and your costs as low as possible. So just learn how to run ads, like start testing, bootstrap, be resourceful.
The other scenario is that like I would personally not recommend it, right? Especially if you're starting out, bootstrapping and everything. And also, it's always good to have a foundation and understanding. The other scenario is that you just know that you will have to like lose money, go on red, get a loss, take a hit in the first 3 to 6 months in some scenarios, especially if you're going for like very, very competitive industries like maybe beauty or whatever. And so, and you're still having a hard time finding your market, right? Sometimes you need a sub niche, find your market. All these, test proven offers, test products. It takes a lot of time, and it's funny because a lot of marketers just overpromise a lot, probably because they don't, they just want to close clients, and they're like a sales agency. Well, I guess ours is more like a growth partner type of collaboration.
Yeah.
And so it's a very interesting topic. I definitely would recommend to like get more context. But then of course there's the other scenario where you could just, it's either you have more money or you have more time, right? And so you can decide what you want to do.
So talk more about that. Like if you have more money, what should you do? If you have more time, what should you do? Like what are those two scenarios?
Yeah, it's very simple. So if you have more money than time, then just hire the agency, knowing that you'll probably end up losing money in the first 3 to 6 months, realistically speaking, because everything needs to be done. And I'm just saying if you're starting out, right? If you already have a foundation, right? And by the way, like starting out also means you're maybe even making 50, 100, 200K a month, maybe with like wholesale or like retail, and you're just trying to enter the online space. That's still starting out. I've noticed, you let me know what you think, but I've noticed that it's actually a little easier to approach these brands because they already have like it's not a huge awareness, but they already have a foundation with the brand outside of the
Some product market fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like already proven, and we are pushing products that people actually already want.
Yeah.
So, and the other scenario, what did I just talk about? If they have money.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't have money, just start off, bootstrap it, learn watch our YouTube videos. Like we literally go through all the systems, the processes, we also have school communities for free, right? So where we literally bring you through the ad account structures, how to learn ads yourself, we give you UGC templates and lists of content creators that you can go ahead and reach out to. Like you don't need to pay for someone, right? Paying for someone will probably speed up the process. But once again, scenario number 2 is if you don't have the capital. So learn yourself before hiring an agency, or else it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and it's such an important part of your business. Like at some point you will have to learn like how ads work, the metrics, CPA, CPM, CTR, like what are your benchmarks, right? And understand like the creative testing process and account structure and the funnel. Let me ask you, what do you think of like the in-between, right? Like instead of hiring an agency, you just hire maybe a freelancer where maybe they're a little bit cheaper than an agency and they can get you like off the ground.
So I think that is riskier, because if you hire a freelancer, it's basically like hiring an in-house person, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. An agency already has proven systems and processes. Chances are a freelancer just has less experience. Even if they have a lot of experience, they don't have a holistic point of view of how a brand should be built. And if they do, they probably cost you a lot, like 6 figures a year, or else they wouldn't, they would charge less. So it's a very delicate, question, but I think it's the same. I think you should just start yourself. It's not about like agency or freelancer. It's about you learning the foundations first so that you know who to hire, when to hire, and why to hire in the first place.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than having somebody tell you what to do or advise you on something and you have zero understanding of what the person is talking about.
Yeah, you can't challenge them. You can't play devil's advocate and say like, well, what happens if it doesn't work out, right? So I guess moving into maybe a brand they're off the ground, they're getting some traction. It's time maybe whether it makes sense to bring in an agency or maybe start to hire an in-house team. What do you think about those two scenarios? Like, what are the pros and cons?
Yeah.
When should you do one or the other?
Yeah. So I don't really think about it that way, just the way I've built my company. I know that a lot of companies and agencies and marketing people, they treat their clients as any other client. And sometimes, in many scenarios, they create leverage over the client where they own the assets,
Yeah.
they own the systems, they own the processes, they own the workflow. And so as soon as they stop, the business owner literally is left with nothing.
Yep.
That is a huge red flag, and you should never, never, never. It's like even for us, like how do we get clients? Sure, with referrals, but we also have client acquisition processes. If we just hand that off to somebody else, like that makes no sense.
Yeah.
In fact, we built it in-house, or or we're working with growth partners where we give a little bit of equity where we're partners, right? So that's the my point. So what was your question? Sorry, the
In-house team
In-house.
versus agency, like pros and cons.
Yeah, yeah.
When should you do one or the other?
Yeah, so I think it depends purely. So this is what I wanted to say. Wouldn't look at it with like the perspective like agency or not agency. It's people, right? It's people. As long as these people don't have leverage over you and they're genuine people, they understand what you want, they understand the direction that you want to grow your business. There's nothing worse than hiring somebody that wants to grow the business in a different direction or with a different strategy. So you have to make sure that the incentives, first of all, are aligned, but also the way that you want to grow your company are aligned. So I would say these are a couple things that I would look at. Make sure they don't have leverage over you. Make sure they have a track record. It doesn't matter at the end of the day if they're a company, an agency, an individual, a solopreneur, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter as long as they're the right people and they don't have leverage over you.
Yeah. I would say as well, like an in-house team, like hiring people is hard. Like hiring is one of the hardest things you'll do. I think hiring an agency versus a complete, build out in-house team is easier. It's still hard to find, great agencies, but I think it's
Really hard.
yeah, but it is easier than hiring an in-house team. Like we know that we have our in-house teams. It's really hard to find the right people, the right positions, how to structure it.
Guys,
It
like,
takes a lot of time. It's probably going to cost you more in terms of actual like people cost, like the dollar amount, right? Because you'll need a few different positions depending on how many things you're doing. So an agency, could also be more cost effective as well in some cases.
100% for two reasons. Because the first one is the reason that you mentioned, because it's already there and they already have the experience, but also it's like the opportunity cost of going through all these burnouts with these people and employees.
Yep.
And it's going to save you actually time and money at the same time if you work with the right people and with the right group of people, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess just when we talk about in-house team, like if you look at our teams, we have someone who manages the ads, right? Media buyer, we have creative strategist, we have editors. If you're doing email marketing, that's a different person. And maybe you can find someone who can do, maybe they're more full stack, right? They can do media buying, creative, maybe they can do landing pages and CRO, but that person is very, very difficult to find. They're also going to cost you a lot of money if you want to bring them in-house.
I don't think people understand, like, if you want good people, like, you can't pass away with like $500 an hour. Like, you need to pay these people. You get what you pay for. And there's a saying, I don't know, what was the saying that the one that he said where you get what you pay for, or you can decide whether you want to pay for a bad thing 7 times or just pay for the good thing immediately and actually save time, money, and resources. So it's kind of that perspective. But also, if you want to find good people, look, I have 12 team members. We have payroll. We have a big steady payroll, but it's because we're probably, at least for me, right? I assume it's the same for you, but it's because we have a good foundation, a good team, and we're paying these people quite well. Not because we just want to overpay, but it's because of their experience and their track record.
Yeah.
I'm sure you hire based on experience, not like potential, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also like the value they provide, right? Like whenever I say to brands that, maybe we're talking about working together is, you're working with a core team of experts, right? We're never handing you off to like a junior who's learning the ropes. You're working with the core team, and yeah, like the incentives are aligned. The core team, you and I, we incentivize our teams to align with our clients' objectives as well, right?
Yeah.
The clients grow, they grow as well. So everything is aligned. And I think if you find an agency that feels like that it's like an extension of your in-house team, that it feels like that, then I think it's quite a unique thing to find.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had clients that actually, they've been with us for like 4 years. Since this, like, not the start, but like, 4 years. It's a long time.
Yeah.
And we're just literally an extension. I had a call with them like 2 days ago. They feel like we are an extension of their in-house team.
Yeah.
And we are the in-house team or whatever. And so also one thing is that it's actually, it can be a lot more cheaper to hire an agency than to hire, 12 team members in-house. Just imagine if you want to pay for high quality people, you're going to have to pay at least 2-3K, a good copywriter, 2-3K a good media buyer, 2-3K for
Probably more.
More. I'm being conservative. Like maybe if you hire in like Middle Eastern countries or where you can find great people, but still, if they have experience, they know what they're worth, right?
Yeah.
I'm just being extremely conservative, so it can stack up quite easily. The advantage, I guess, with the agency is that you're leveraging a group of people, right? They are handling other clients as well, but you're leveraging the know-how and just that group of people all combined, all put together into one.
So we've spoken about, I guess, when to hire an agency, when to hire an in-house team, and I guess why not to hire an in-house team. But when is the right moment, I guess, to hire an in-house team? Like when does that become an option? And then we could talk about like how to actually hire, like where to look.
Yeah. We're going to give you the sauce, like how we actually find these people. It's really, really hard. In fact, never mind, we'll just talk about that later. But the question, right? When is the right time?
Yeah.
Right? So it depends what you want to do, right? If you want to sell your business, having an in-house team is valuable. It's a lot more valuable, actually. But it depends on what stage the business is at, right? So it probably has to be over 10 million. So like a medium-sized business at least. Yeah. So what investors look for eventually is like an in-house team. I don't need to explain why, right?
Yeah, it's enterprise value, right? It's like, I guess it's lower risk. If you have an in-house team that's proven, there's more stability than like an external agency that you're relying on. But just like in terms of the revenue stage, I would say probably even higher, like 30 million, 40 million, 50 million a year in revenue. Because, well, first of all, like an in-house team, if you really want to build it out with, maybe have like a CMO, like marketing manager, but then you have like a creative person and editors, and then an email marketing person, affiliate person. Like if you have multiple different people, it's going to cost you like probably 30K USD per month. Like if you really want like really
probably more.
Yeah. And if you want them on payroll as well, where you have to, pay taxes and everything else.
Benefits.
Then that becomes a cost, fixed cost in your business. So you need to be of a certain size as well to be able to incur that cost, but also incur that risk.
But also like keep in mind that even if these people are good, they don't have the experience of working with 60 to 70 accounts and brands, right? So what I would do is this, like if I have to be extremely transparent and honest with people, if I were to start, or if I were to have an e-commerce brand less than 10 million or whatever, I would actually work with an agency, learn the ins and outs, the SOPs, the structures, how they hire. I would just juice them out and get as much information as possible.
Yep.
I would work with them for a little bit to understand how everything works. And then eventually when it's the right time, I would start either asking the agency if they can help with the transition, because it's always good to have, that transition done by somebody that already built that team, right? So maybe ask the company owner that you're working with, the agency, to help you. If not, it's fine. But just like you've learned everything that you need to learn, assuming the company did well for you, right? That's, you want to model that, not a company that is not successful. And then you build your own infrastructures. It, like, honestly, for me, it took me like over a year to find a very good, like where I felt like I was very comfortable with my team. I'm not sure about you, but it took me a while.
Yeah.
And even now, like when it comes to like hiring, like we're doing this for you. So we have, like, I have LinkedIn ads that run every day. Like it's like just like acquisition. Like instead of like paying ads for getting clients, I pay ads to keep the quality of my team high, because you never know what happens if somebody is sick, right? Or somebody just wants to quit on me. Am I not going to serve my clients, right? So the same thing will happen if you want to do in-house. You're going to have to not only probably pay 20, 30, 40K in payroll at least per month, plus benefits or whatever, but you'll always have to make sure, you also have to make sure that you have a budget for HR, right?
Yeah.
For hiring, I guess. And so I'm not trying to say these things just to push you off and say hire agencies. I'm just being extremely realistic. Like this is what we have to do. And I'm just saying, you know, in-house is a hard move. It's a more, could be a more profitable move. It could be a more, from an evaluation standpoint, like a better move. But yeah, you got to know what to expect. It's tough. And I've had companies where like they say, clients where they say, we want to do it in-house. I don't sit back and say, oh, no, it's a bad idea, whatever. I just say, cool, I understand. It makes complete sense. We'll be more than happy to bring you through how the process works and kind of hold your hand.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is that 8 months later, because they maybe have the wrong expectations of building an in-house team, they come back, and then we have to go through the journey of getting, you know, starting kind of all over again. So it's a great decision, but just know what to expect. That's all.
It's a big decision. Yeah. I guess, so finding these people, right? You mentioned you're running LinkedIn ads.
So let's just give them the kind of like how we, the sauce in terms of, you want to build an in-house team. Good. How to do it. How do you start?
And let's start with the positions. So
yeah, where do you find your people? Like, let's give people an understanding of that.
So I want to break it down by position. And the reason why is because for me, if you're hiring a media buyer or you're hiring a creative strategist, you really want to go where these people hang out, right? And there's platforms that work, I guess, that are more broad and more like catch-all, where LinkedIn has been an amazing platform for us, Upwork as well. And Upwork, like people think of Upwork as like maybe low quality, contractors, freelancers, like understand that we're finding people on Upwork and then we are like bringing them in-house, like we're taking them off that platform. Sorry, Upwork. But those two platforms are great. But if you're hiring a creative strategist, we found that like Twitter is a great place. There's a lot of UGC creators on Twitter that can make really good creative strategists.
And some of these people are like also entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Like go ahead.
And you could even like think of UGC platforms, right? Like there's a lot of platforms out there where you can pay a monthly fee and find creators. There's even like backstage.com where you can find like actors and different talent.
That's actually good when we started using it.
Yeah, backstage.com is like a game changer.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And like you can post jobs for free. If they have that like free discount code you can use if it's active. But if not, it's like very, very cheap. And the talent quality is like really good. You get like applications like within a day.
Immediately.
That's good for the US. If you're in Australia or New Zealand, use Star Now. It's basically Backstage's version of like
Star Now.
Yeah, it is the exact same. Like it's owned by Backstage. It's just different name. Yeah, like the interface is like the exact same.
Makes sense.
But you just get, Australia and New Zealand applicants. Anyway, back to the creative strategists. Yeah, you can find them on these places. Media buyers, Facebook groups is also like a decent place. Slack groups, there's like a Triple Well group. There's different Slack groups you can join and get in these circles.
I guess
yeah.
you need to understand where they hang out.
Yeah.
Now, this is what I would do is this. I would have like, even if it's like $5-6 a day, whatever it is, $10 a day, have applications in even after you hire, because you want to have a
Yeah.
full, absolutely full pipeline. You cannot afford to not have an email marketer
Yeah.
for a month or two, because it takes time.
Yeah.
The only problem with inbound is that you attract people that could be great, but that somebody else maybe didn't hire yet. And there's typically a reason. Typically, the people that actually perform already are working happily somewhere else.
Yeah.
So one other thing that you can do is that you can hire somebody, a VA, or you can do it yourself initially, but have a consistent flow or strategy where you approach interesting prospects in terms of like whatever you're looking for,
Yeah.
whether it's media buyers, and poach people.
Yeah, no, like,
Literally.
yeah. And just to add to that, like you're spot on. People who are like at the top of their game, like they're not like looking for a job. like that's it, right? And if they are looking for a job, it's only for like 2 weeks max, right? Probably even less, because they're not on the market for long before someone snaps them up or they get referred.
Bro, I
Yeah.
got my CMO, my head of performance I was so lucky to find him because
Yeah.
he sold his company, his e-commerce brand, right? He sold the majority stake, and he was in this transitional period, maybe for a couple of weeks, 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever,
Yep.
where he just wanted, like, if he did the applications, he would have found a job immediately. And I was lucky enough to have worked with him for like a consulting gig for
Yeah.
some other things on the back end, and I was so lucky. But
Yeah. The other scenario is that if they're like a freelancer, they might have like 3 clients, 4 clients of their own, and they're doing pretty well. But that is also classed as them working, right? They have their own thing, and then you can, I guess,
bro, that's
over time convince them to come in house full time.
those are amazing. Those are amazing because they have the entrepreneurial spirit. They
Yeah.
know what it takes to serve a client. They know what it takes to serve a client. So they probably, if you want to bring them in house, they know what you want,
Yeah.
essentially, what to expect.
They can manage their own time.
And be flexible with them. Like, these people don't want to be treated like employees 9 to 5, or you need to show up at the whatever. So like, make sure that they understand the culture that you want to build, the vision of your company. The vision is really important. Every time we hop on a call, typically what I want to do is talk about our core values, or have like a reminder on why we do what we do, for what reasons. Install that into their brain so they're hooked, right? Or else they have pretty much no reason to work with you.
You want to push people away as well. Just like you want to hook people in, you want to push the wrong people away. So don't be afraid to be abrasive and tell them, like, we say this on our job applications, like, look, we're working with high growth e-commerce brands. You're expected from time to time to reply late at night on the weekends. Like, that's the expectation. If that's not you, that's not what you want to do, then don't apply, because this is not going to work out. So you don't want to be like promising them the world. You can tell them why it's great to work at your company and the benefits and, the amazing culture, definitely. But you also want to say, look, if I Slack you at 6 p.m. on a Saturday, I expect you to reply within, I don't know how many hours or whatever, right? But just, I guess, the not so glamorous stuff, you want to say that.
Guys, e-com, like, e-com is tough. You got to be active.
Yeah.
Every hour you need, there's a problem, there's a conversion rate, there's a glitch on the website.
Yeah.
The email marketing flow doesn't deliver. There's so many different things.
Yeah.
Right. So expectations.
And I think just, talking about the positions as well for an in-house team. and this also goes, if you're hiring an agency, like, make sure they have these people. Basically, a media buyer, they're actually managing the ads, but I think the better word for that is more like a performance marketer, where media buying is one of the tools in their tool belt. They can also do CRO. Like, for me, a media buyer or performance marketer.
In today's generation.
Yeah, for e-commerce, they should, like, running ads, for them should be just one tool in their tool belt. They should also understand how to build landing pages. They should also understand how to write good direct response copy, not like excellent level, but to a pretty good standard. They understand the basis of, consumer psychology. They understand what makes a good ad creative. They understand
the level of awarenesses, right? We were talking about it before.
conversion optimization, what makes a good website, how to increase AOV. Like I like to think of it, they're like an e-commerce expert, right? They should understand the ins and outs of an e-commerce business, because with that context, they're going to be able to perform much better. They're going to see the bigger picture and dictate the strategy for your brand, how to acquire customers, retain customers. So really a full stack performance marketer. Now, to find someone who's like really analytical and also really good at creative, very, very difficult, very unlikely that you're going to find that person. So we like to split out those roles. You have the performance marketer, we also have the creative strategist. The creative strategist is the genius behind the creative. They understand direct response to a much higher level. They understand what makes someone stop and scroll, like stop scrolling and watch a video. They have like really the creative brain, and them combined with the performance marketer together is like dream team. Yeah. So
literally.
but
So,
yeah,
let me ask you a question. Like, for people that want to start building in-house teams, how do you structure the team? Is it a pyramid? Does everybody work on their own? Like, how is if you have to like draw it and map it out visually for people?
it's a matrix. And the reason is because it's very intertwined.
I think there's diverse ways, right?
Yeah, there's multiple ways to do it. There's no like, I'll tell you my way is basically, look, my CMO, who's also like senior media buyer, performance marketer, like all those skill sets and tools that I was talking about, he has. And that just means that he can dictate the strategy for the brands that we work with. He also manages the creative team. And I guess you could also think of like, it's a matrix. This CMO, performance marketer, and then we just have a creative team. So we have creative strategist, we have a creative coordinator, and head of like creative, the way things look, right? Making sure that everything's on brand to standard, but also updating clients, and also sourcing and managing the relationships with creators. And then we have a video and image editor. So that's like, I guess, the three people combined into a creative team.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really how we do it, like the matrix. So the three people report to the CMO, but also like it's intertwined, meaning that the CMO is leaning on the creative strategist for some things and vice versa.
I guess CMO is maybe it's like maybe head of performance.
Yeah.
Because CMO is also for like the agency side.
Yeah,
right?
maybe. Yeah.
So it's maybe like head of performance for the clients, like services, right?
They're like a CMO for the e-commerce brands.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Think about it as it's not the CMO for the like agency, like they're doing the agency marketing. They're doing the CMO for the e-commerce brands, like fractional CMO.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
I have like a similar structure, but essentially it's kind of like a pyramid, but it's like more like horizontal, right? So it's not as vertical as an actual pyramid. So the structure is this. There's my head of performance, right, on the top, and in parallel there's also the head of creatives, right? And this head of creatives also handles like our first of all, the role of my head of performance is to make sure that the ads are running smooth, make sure that we're good on creatives, and he also kind of like handles email marketing departments, CRO departments. So I'm just gonna give you what the ads look like, because then like I would actually need to show you on a chart, because I have 12 team members, right? So essentially he's on the top and he's in control of the entire situation. Everything is reported to him, and then he reports to me, and this is kind of like how I keep track of things. He's the boss. Then in parallel, there's the creative person that does UGC production, finds people, but is also in charge of like giving the tasks, the creative tasks. So like whether it's some ad copy things, some creatives, but mostly just images and videos and essentially those types of things. And what happens is that between the head of performance and this creative director, let's call her Lana, she's great. Our graphic designers, our video editors, everybody under the creative team receives tasks on Asana. That's the tool that we use.
Yep.
And it's very interesting because literally how we distribute is that each client has their own dashboard, and we literally just pin people and say, okay, video editor, you need to do these 3 videos by the next 72 hours and deliver these 5 things with this format, just like this other competitor, right? So we give them very specific criteria. Who does, as I said before, the head of performance and the creative director. And so they receive these tasks, and these are the people that are more like kind of on the bottom, where they just like make sure that the tasks are being delivered. And then in parallel, there's like the media buying team. So we have like, the media buyer speaks directly with the head of performance, and they pretty much have their own meetings just based on media buying. And of course, the media buyer is in congruency, I guess you can say, with what the creative team is doing. Because if the media buyer doesn't know what they're doing and can't follow the flow of creatives that are coming in, then it becomes a problem, because you need
disconnect.
Yeah, there's just a disconnect, and you need that connection, right? So that's pretty much how it's structured, just from like a creative and ads perspective.
I think it's very similar, like, to ours. And you can see that, I mean, the common thread here is media buying, kind of performance marketing, and creative is split. And I think it's because of those, like, they're very different, but there's a lot of crossover in terms of like the creative team need like media buying analytics, they need to understand the data, but the media buying team also need to understand some creative. So yeah, and I think as we've seen, we benefited from having that split out. Any other positions you would recommend for like an in-house team? I guess email marketing,
let's list
different
them.
department.
Yeah. Let's list them. I think you need head of performance, creative director. You need a video editor, a graphic designer. I would also hire somebody that just finds UGC people, like a UGC production manager or something like that, where they find source creators, write the scripts, handle the entire process of, it's very time consuming when you find these creators. So you want one person just for that. That's that. And then you want a copywriter. I forgot to mention the copywriter. It's part of the roles. Very important. Copywriter should do ad copies, write sales copies, write listicles, advertorials, sales pages. Sometimes we also have her do email marketing copy, right? So we have a designer that does email, does the Figma files. They design them on Klaviyo, and then the copywriter just writes the copy for those emails, right? And who else? You probably need somebody that is an expert with CRO, so building like a developer. We have in-house developers that do like their development on Figma, and then they go and move it into Shopify or whatever the client has hosting.
Yeah.
And what else?
I think just to mention as well, in-house, obviously we're talking about for agencies is very similar, but I think if you have an in-house team, you can probably combine a lot of these roles. For example, if you're doing email marketing, which you should be, a table stakes, like your graphic designer who's doing the ad should also be able to do emails.
Yeah, of course.
And for me, like a graphic designer should also be able to do video. So that's one person who can do video graphics for ads. They can do video graphics for the website. They can do video graphics.
Yeah, they're just going to be more expensive, or you're going to have to train them.
Yeah.
Right? One of the two. Yeah.
I think like for me, when we look for like creative editors, we call them creative editor, right? Because they're doing multiple things.
Yeah.
Videos, images. They should know how to do both. Or if they don't know how to do both, they should want to do both, because it's like adding skills. Just like a media buyer knows how to do media buying, CRO, all that stuff. And a creative editor should know how to do video, image, for multiple things, right? Ads, all that stuff.
I think the reason why I divided the roles is because I know my video editor can do the graphic designs easily.
Yeah.
But I think it was just like an organizational structure.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, since we do have a lot of clients, 12 clients, the graphic designer just does graphics.
Yeah.
And it's way easier to scale, right?
That makes sense. Yeah. And I think for like an in-house brand, where I guess it's just like, for us, it would be one client. You just want to combine that role.
It makes sense.
You want to keep it leaner.
It makes sense.
Yeah. I think as well, like you mentioned, the copywriter working across email as well.
Yeah.
But then you also have the question of email. The way we structure it is I hire for like email copywriters, like they're they know how to do copy to the highest level,
Yeah.
and they also know how to do strategy, right? Or if they don't, we train them on strategy, because I think the strategy side is easier to learn. Like it's harder to teach copy than strategy. So we just combine. It's a bit. They're email marketers, right?
No, I understand. I understand. So I guess to top it off, and kind of close this topic, why do you think people work for your agency? Like why? Like what are the motivations that you give them and that you provide them with? What are the benefits? Because like people don't understand that you're not just paying someone to be on your team.
Yeah.
Like these people need something. They're humans.
Yeah.
Right?
For me, it's all about culture. And I think about culture, if you know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the triangle, right? Like people, the compensation for me is obviously it's really, really important, but it's only one part of the puzzle, because someone can be getting paid very well, but if they just hate what they're doing and every day is like hell,
Yeah.
then they're going to leave no matter like how much you're paying them. It depends how much, but
That was actually a scenario with my last head of performance.
yeah.
I was paying him well, but it was just like after like 3.5 years or something, he got to a point where like, I love working with you, man, but I just don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be that person that does X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So I think it's culture, but also like understanding what they want.
Yeah.
And, for me, just talk about compensation for a moment.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that you give your team members a roadmap of like how much can they actually earn at this company. A lot of like what most companies do is they say this is your salary, and they'll say, yeah, there's opportunities for growth here, but they don't actually say what those are. So I like to make it concrete. Like here's a timeline and a roadmap where at this month and this month and this month, this is how your salary is going to grow. Here's where we're going to introduce some bonus structures, maybe some profit share. Because, if it was me and I'm, saying, okay, I'm working at this company, do I see myself working here for a long time? That compensation roadmap and actually seeing the growth potential is going to be a big part of that, right? So that's on the compensation side. And then actually understanding what they want to do, forcing them to do something they don't want to do is probably not a good idea. There are going to be some things that they will need to do.
It's not going to be rainbows.
Yeah.
Flowers.
But yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is understanding what they want, and that's the first question that I ask. What are you looking for? Describe the ideal team that you would that you want to work with and for, I guess, and understanding that gap. And I think it's also making sure that they understand the vision of the company. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? What are your milestones? What do you want to achieve? Because people don't just randomly work. They don't say yes to a paycheck and because you think you're cool or a good person. They need an extra motivation. And it sounds very cliche, but typically all the cliche things are cliche in the first place because they're true, right? So it's a very important topic. Maybe we can save how to build a culture and everything in another episode, but I think we touched based on.
Yeah. I mean, maybe some like quick fire things for culture. Like, first of all, like establish your core company values. That's like the first thing you should do. And these are not like things that you just think of like in one night. These are things that if you have an existing team, like talk about this with your existing team. Say like, what are our core company values, right? And what these are is like guiding principles for your company, right? And the reason why you'd have these values is because when you show them to people, they should feel so strongly connected to those values. If they don't, then they're not a good fit for your culture, right? Consider like as long as they're the right values. So values are guiding principles, and we use values to help people in our team make decisions. So rather than giving them like a million SOPs,
Yeah.
We have SOPs and ways to do things, but the values are even more important, because it's how that you should conduct yourself on a daily basis, and it's a reminder as to why you're here and what we're doing. So that's the first thing. Other things are like make it a team, right? Make it like a family. Be like, understand, like get to know them, like what, not just professional goals, but personal goals. Like what are they working towards in their life?
But you know
yeah.
what? These things I've noticed, I'll just be completely honest, like especially when you start out, starting a business is really hard. It can be unprofitable. It can be really, really tough. And I come from personal experience. I'm just being honest. When I started my company, it was really hard. And it's really hard to still talk about these things and still build a culture
Yeah.
while you're dealing with the shit of growing your company, and maybe it's not in the best of the position. You have to, that's the perks of being an entrepreneur. You have to have your smile up. You have to stay positive. They need to feel secure. If they feel like something is wrong, right, they are going to want to leave because they want security. Like, you know, you have to almost provide for their security almost.
Yeah, well, that's the first level of the hierarchy of needs, right? Is the main security. Yeah, you're the leader, right?
Yeah.
So you have to lead by example.
But I just wanted to say that it's really hard to do that and still talk about culture,
Yeah.
still have like, you know, in-depth team meetings and show up while you're dealing with all the shit on the back end. So if you can do that, you will be able to have people stick with you, and the right people stick with you. So it's going to pay off.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think you want to talk more about culture? Or we
No, I
can
think
wrap it
we're
up?
good.
Yeah.
We're
With
good on,
that,
yeah.
another episode in the books.
Yeah. Episode 5 coming up. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about in the future, but give us some suggestions on things that you want to hear. Either way, just for context, we do, if you want, you know, all of our, I'm going to start putting all these hiring processes in my school community and all these things that we talked about it, but it's completely free. You can join. Jordan, you have one as well. Nothing. We're done.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Check out Brando's channel, Brando Minetti. Obviously, if you're watching this on my channel, yeah. Check out the school communities, and we'll see you in the next one.
Let's get it.
Bye.
Bye.